My son's voice was ice-cold through the phone. "Dad, you're not invited to my wedding." 3 months later, he called me sobbing, asking if I was the mysterious benefactor who made his dream wedding possible. What I did next will restore your faith in unconditional love. Dear listeners, if you've ever wondered what true parental love looks like when it's tested to its limits, you need to hear this story. Hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and settle in for a tale that proves love doesn't need an invitation. This is Letters to Ray, and today's confession will leave you speechless. It was a Tuesday evening in March when my phone rang. I saw my son Michael's name on the screen, and my heart leaped. We hadn't spoken in over 2 months, not since our last argument about his fiancée Sarah and how quickly they were moving. I'll admit, Ray, I hadn't been the most supportive. Old habits die hard, and I'd spent years being the critical, absent father who always had an opinion but never the time. "Hey, son," I answered, trying to keep the hope out of my voice. "Dad." His tone was flat, businesslike. "I need to tell you something about the wedding." My heart started racing. This was it. Despite everything, he was going to invite me. Maybe he'd even ask me to walk him down the aisle, or give a speech, or... Sarah and I have decided to keep it small. Really small. Just her immediate family and our closest friends. "I'm sorry, but you're not invited." The words hit me like a physical blow, Ray. I actually had to sit down. 27 years of being his father, and I wasn't even worthy of a seat in the back row of his wedding. But what destroyed me wasn't just the exclusion, it was how easily he said it. Like he'd been practicing the words, like cutting me out was just another item on his wedding checklist. "I understand," I managed to say, though my voice was shaking. "I hope you have a beautiful day." The silence stretched between us. I think he expected me to fight him, to guilt him, to do what the old me would have done, make it about my hurt feelings. But sitting there in my empty house, looking at the framed photos of Michael from Little League, his high school graduation, his college acceptance letter, I realized something profound. This wasn't about me anymore. "Thanks, Dad," he said finally, and I could hear surprise in his voice. I'll send you pictures." After he hung up, I didn't move for an hour. I just sat there, holding the phone, thinking about every way I'd failed as a father. The divorce when he was 12 that tore our family apart. The missed baseball games because of work. The promises I broke, the times I chose my career over his school plays, the critical comments disguised as helping him improve. Michael was right to exclude me, Ray. I'd been absent for most of the moments that mattered. Why should his wedding day be any different? But then something shifted in my chest. A realization that cut through all my self-pity. I might not have been invited to his wedding, but I was still his father. And for once in my life, I was going to show up for him in the way that mattered most, even if he never knew it. The investigation, 3:45 to 6:15. I started making calls the next day. My ex-wife Linda was initially suspicious when I reached out asking about Michael's wedding plans. "What do you want, Richard?" she asked, that familiar edge in her voice. "I want to know if they need help," I said simply. "Financial or otherwise." Linda was quiet for a long moment. Then, softer, "They're struggling. The wedding is costing more than they anticipated, and Sarah's parents can only contribute so much. Michael's been working overtime, and Sarah picked up a second job. They might have to cancel their honeymoon." My heart broke all over again, but for different reasons this time. My son was killing himself to pay for one perfect day, and I was sitting on resources I'd accumulated from years of prioritizing work over family. Through Linda, I learned about their venue, a beautiful garden pavilion that cost 3 times their original budget. Through Michael's cousin, I discovered they'd chosen a photographer whose work was stunning but expensive. Sarah's sister mentioned at a family gathering that they'd had to downgrade their flower arrangements twice. I started making calls. Not to Michael, he'd made his boundaries clear, but to every vendor associated with their wedding. I had one rule: complete anonymity. They could never know the help came from me. The anonymous benefactor, 6:15 to 9:30. The florist was my first call. "Hi, this is regarding the Thompson-Martinez wedding in June," I said, my heart pounding. "I understand they had to scale back their floral arrangements?" "Oh yes," the woman replied sadly. "Lovely couple, but budget constraints, you know how it is." "What would it cost to upgrade them to their original vision?" I asked. "Well, that would be about $1,500 more than their current package, but..." "Consider it paid," I interrupted. "But here's the important part, they can never know who paid for it. Tell them you had a last-minute cancellation and you're offering them the upgrade at their current price. Can you do that?" The florist was quiet for a moment. "Are you their fairy godfather or something?" I laughed despite myself. "Something like that." Next was the photographer. David Chen was a talented young artist who'd been building his portfolio. When I called, he was apologetic about his pricing. "I wish I could help them more," he said. "They're such a sweet couple, and I can see how much this means to them. But I've already cut my rate as much as I can. What if someone were to pay the difference as an anonymous gift?" I suggested. "You could tell them you received a referral bonus that you're passing along as a discount." "Sir, that would be, are you serious? That's almost $2,000. Dead serious. And David? Make sure you capture every moment. This wedding means everything to them." The venue was trickier. The manager was initially suspicious of an anonymous benefactor wanting to upgrade the couple's package. "We don't usually do arrangements like this," she said carefully. "Look," I said, abandoning pretense. "That's my son getting married. He doesn't want me there, and he has good reasons for that. But I want his day to be perfect. Can you help me make that happen without him ever knowing?" Something in my voice must have convinced her. "Oh," she said softly. "Oh, honey. Yes, we can work something out." By the end of the week, I'd arranged for upgraded catering, premium linens, enhanced lighting, and a string quartet for the ceremony. The venue manager agreed to tell them there had been a booking miscommunication that resulted in complimentary upgrades. But I wasn't done yet. Through some careful research and a few more phone calls, I discovered their dream honeymoon, a week in Belize, complete with snorkeling, rainforest tours, and beachfront dining. They'd reluctantly canceled it the month before, choosing to put the money toward the wedding instead. The travel agent was more than happy to help orchestrate a contest winner scenario. Michael and Sarah would receive a call 3 days before the wedding, informing them they'd won a honeymoon package they'd never actually entered to win. June 15th arrived with perfect weather, warm but not humid, with a gentle breeze that would be ideal for an outdoor ceremony. I woke up early, my stomach churning with a mixture of excitement and heartbreak. My son was getting married today, and I was going to witness it from the parking lot of a coffee shop. I dressed carefully anyway, the navy suit I'd bought for occasions I was no longer invited to, the tie Michael had given me for Christmas 3 years ago, back when we still exchanged gifts. I looked at myself in the mirror and saw a man who'd spent years building walls between himself and the people who mattered most. The coffee shop was perfectly positioned across the street from Riverside Gardens, the venue where Michael and Sarah would say their vows. I ordered a large coffee and claimed a table by the window, spreading out a newspaper I had no intention of reading. At 2:30 p.m., the first guests began arriving. I recognized some faces, Linda's sister, a few of Michael's college friends, Sarah's parents, whom I'd met exactly once. They looked happy, excited, dressed in their wedding finest. I felt like a spy, watching the celebration I'd helped create but couldn't attend. Then I saw him. My son, standing outside the venue in his tuxedo, greeting guests with that smile I remembered from his childhood. He looked so handsome, so grown up, so happy. Sarah appeared beside him in a dress that took my breath away, the same dress that had been mysteriously marked down at the boutique after I made a phone call. For a moment, watching them together, I forgot about my own hurt. They were radiant, perfect for each other in a way I'd been too stubborn to see before. Sarah laughed at something Michael said, and he looked at her like she was the only person in the world. This was what love looked like when it was allowed to flourish without interference. The photographer, David Chen, was moving around them effortlessly, capturing candid moments with the skill I was paying him handsomely for. The flowers, upgraded peonies and garden roses in soft pinks and whites, created the romantic backdrop Sarah had originally envisioned. I watched the ceremony begin through the venue's tall windows. Michael's hands were shaking as Sarah walked down the aisle, escorted by her father. I found myself crying, sitting alone in that coffee shop, as my son married the woman he loved in a celebration I'd made possible but couldn't share. The reception looked magical. The string quartet played as guests moved from cocktails to dinner. The upgraded lighting cast everything in a warm, golden glow. Through the windows, I could see Michael and Sarah's first dance, and the pure joy on their faces was worth every penny I'd spent. As the evening wound down, I finally allowed myself to leave. I'd watched my son get married from across the street, and somehow, that felt like enough. The Discovery, 12:15 to 15:45. 2 months passed. I threw myself into work, trying not to think about the wedding photos Michael had promised to send but never did. I told myself I was fine with the distance, that I'd done what I needed to do and could live with the consequences. Then my phone rang on a Thursday afternoon. "Dad?" Michael's voice was different, softer, uncertain. "I need to ask you something, and I want you to be completely honest with me." My heart started racing. "Of course, son. What is it?" "Sarah went to pick up her bouquet preservation box today, you know, where they dry and frame the flowers? And the florist, she said something weird." He paused, and I could hear him breathing. She mentioned a generous father who covered the difference when their last-minute cancellation discount didn't actually exist. I stayed silent, my pulse pounding in my ears. Dad, Michael continued, his voice getting quieter. There was no cancellation, was there? I closed my eyes. How much do you know? Enough. His voice cracked. The photographer's assistant accidentally forwarded me an invoice with your name on the payment confirmation. The venue manager let it slip that someone had specifically requested our upgrades be kept anonymous. And then the travel agent called asking if Mr. Thompson Sr. wanted to add anything else to our honeymoon package. The silence stretched between us, years of hurt and distance contained in that pause. Michael, I said finally. You paid for everything, didn't you? He whispered. The flowers, the photographer, the venue upgrades, the honeymoon we thought we won. I just wanted you to have the wedding you deserved. But I didn't invite you, he said, and I could hear him starting to cry. I specifically excluded you, and you still. You're my son, I said simply. That doesn't change because you don't want me at a party. The sound that came through the phone was somewhere between a laugh and a sob. A party? Dad, it was my wedding. The most important day of my life, and God, what kind of person does that make me? It makes you human, I said, my own voice breaking. Michael, I wasn't a good father to you growing up. I missed too many games, broke too many promises, prioritized work over you and your mom. You had every right to exclude me. But you were there, he said, crying freely now. You were there in every way that mattered. Every beautiful moment, every perfect detail, that was you, wasn't it? You were taking care of me even when I shut you out. I had to wipe my eyes before I could respond. I've made a lot of mistakes as your father. I figured the least I could do was not mess up your wedding day too. Dad, Michael said through his tears, Sarah and I want to come over for dinner this weekend. She wants to thank you, and I want to try again. With us, I mean. If you're willing. The relief that flooded through me was overwhelming. I would love that more than anything. And Dad? If there's ever a next time, when Sarah and I have kids, or renew our vows, or whatever, you're not watching from across the street. You're right there with us, okay? I wouldn't miss it, I managed to say through my tears. That Saturday, Michael and Sarah came for dinner. It was awkward at first, 3 adults trying to navigate years of hurt and misunderstanding over pot roast and mashed potatoes. But gradually, the conversation began to flow. Sarah thanked me with tears in her eyes, showing me photos from their honeymoon that I'd made possible. Michael asked about my work, really listening to my answers for the first time in years. As they were leaving, Michael hugged me, really hugged me, for the first time since he was a teenager. I love you, Dad, he whispered. I'm sorry it took me so long to remember that you love me too. 3 months later, Sarah called to tell me they were expecting their first child. We want you to be involved this time, she said. Really involved. This baby needs to know their grandfather. I'm writing this letter to you, Ray, because I want other parents to know, love doesn't need an invitation. Sometimes the most profound way to show up for someone is to step back and let them shine, while quietly ensuring they have everything they need to do so. I wasn't invited to my son's wedding, but I was present in every flower, every photograph, every perfect moment. And in the end, that anonymous love opened a door that years of arguments and hurt feelings had closed. My son is a father now himself. Little Emma is 6 months old, and I see her twice a week. Michael calls me for advice, Sarah sends me pictures, and when Emma takes her first steps or says her first word, I'll be there to witness it. Love finds a way, Ray. Even when it's not invited to the party. Sometimes the most powerful acts of love are the ones performed in complete anonymity. When we give without expecting recognition, when we support without demanding gratitude, we tap into something pure and transformative. This father's story reminds us that true love isn't about being seen, it's about seeing what someone else needs and providing it, regardless of the personal cost. The most beautiful revenge isn't always about proving someone wrong. Sometimes it's about proving them right, that they deserve all the love and support in the world, even from the people they've pushed away. If this story moved you, please hit that like button and subscribe to Letters to Ray. Share your own stories of unexpected forgiveness or anonymous kindness in the comments below. And remember, some acts of love are too beautiful to keep secret, even when they start as secrets themselves. Until next time, this is Ray, reminding you that every letter tells a story worth hearing.